Detroit Become Human is an adventure game developed by Quantic Dream, in which every decision counts. In this video, I will be analyzing the game from a psychological and serious game point of view. The player takes control of three androids: Kara, a housekeeping android; Connor, an android designed to hunt down deviants; and Marcus, an android falsely accused of murder, as they each struggle to find identity and break free of their programming. The player's actions can mean life or death for a character, as they all pursue their goals. On the surface, the game is fun to play, but upon examining it further, there is much more to be explored. The game makes use of flow, which helps to keep players engaged and entertained throughout the experience. The game follows an episodic structure, which has players play throughout one segment of the story as one character and then move to the next. By fragmenting the story in this way, developers were able to keep players engaged by switching from a slower paced scene to a faster action-orientated scene involving another character. By having the player's choices have large sway on what happens in the story, the player will naturally feel more engaged, as they will have control over the outcome. At the end of each segment, the player will be shown the decisions they have made as well as any missed opportunities. By showing the player this, they are given a sense of accomplishment and progress. This will also cause curiosity in most players, and there are options and pathways which did not appear as they were blank, which opens up the possibility to replay the games in the future. The game's challenge comes from its QuickTime events. The player will often encounter events in which they must press buttons quickly, or tilt, shake, or move the thumbstick in certain directions. Although these by themselves are not hard, but under time constraints they can cause the player to feel pressured. This pressure is amplified by any mistakes the player makes, as this could mean life or death for a character. By having several of these QuickTime events in quick succession, the player must stay focused. This focus is however kept even after the event is ended. The player will enter a state of flow. The player will also achieve flow through intrinsic motivation. Self-determination theory requires three needs to be satisfied in order for the player to be intrinsically motivated. The first is autonomy, which refers to the feeling or choice of willingness to complete the task. This comes in the form of many choices the player has throughout the game. The player will often be forced into situations where they have to make a decision they agree with. If the player is not willing to commit to any of the present choices, they can choose to wait and do nothing, which in itself is a choice. This meets the requirement of autonomy. The second requirement is competence. This refers to the challenge and feeling of being effective. The player will often have time to explore the environment and find clues that offer additional pathways in future events. By discovering these items and providing more options, the player will have a sense of effectiveness. Challenge is presented in the form of QuickTime events throughout the game. This will meet the requirements for competence. The final requirement is relatedness, which refers to the connection to others. This comes from the relationships made in the game. By making choices or siding with a character, the player has the opportunity to form a relationship. Relationships will be displayed at the start of each segment of the story, and just like real ones, must be maintained. This will meet the requirement for relatedness and cause the player to be intrinsically motivated. Detroit Become Human has several moral messages presented throughout the game. This includes equity and choices. The androids known as deviants become sentient and stop fighting for their own freedom from slavery and demand to be acknowledged as a people, which have their own rights so they can live equally with humans. Although we may not have androids protesting in our world, we do have oppressed people for numerous reasons such as race and religion. By putting the player in the shoes of the androids, they can gain a deeper understanding of the struggle oppressed people have to live through. Players may choose to take this knowledge into reality and think twice about their choices. Choice is a prevalent theme throughout the game. Players can dictate the fate of characters by choices they make, and if they make the wrong one, they could end up risking relationships, future choices, and even characters' lives. This teaches the player that choices will have consequences, as well as there is always a choice. The player can choose to be a pacifist or anarchist, which both end up leading to similar yet different outcomes. This teaches the lesson that the ends do not justify the means, but instead it is the means that make the ends. The player is in full control of each character and is placed in a situation where they are immersed in the game, feeling as if they are there themselves, which is achieved through flow and self-determination theory. This in turn creates an immersed learning situation where the player can relate to the story and actions of characters and learning from their experiences and as if it has happened in reality. Detroit Become Human teaches exactly what the title implies: humanity. By understanding concepts explored through the game, players will be able to show empathy towards other types of people, and they will be able to learn and view things from another point of view, as if they had experienced itself, when in actual fact, it was the game that had taught them. I think, therefore I am. This is the slogan that the androids used, but it can also be used to describe humanity. We all have thoughts, therefore we all exist. And so despite our differences, we all share this one similarity which unites us.